Wonder if this works. Checking. Good morning and welcome to the Chad Andre Whoopie Fun Dude Heathen Coughing Morning Show. It is 4:28. Let's see. I assumed that Ethan Kahi wouldn't be here this morning. And so, I like that. This clock here is, I think the battery's dead. So that's wrong. This painting, Anne picked up at an estate sale, I guess. We also got if I'm not mistaken, we also got a good morning, E. Olson helper. We also got a poetry book, Longfellow. Yes, a very old leather-bound book. It's like almost falling apart, but it's nice. So, this is the Heathen Coughing Morning Show. Now, I am not a heathen, but I play one on television. Song of Hiawatha. Yes, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. You dudes are on it. Let's see what we have. What have I been up to as of late? YouTube. So the thing is, I've been, as of lately, trying to wrap up my detective story for this little zine. And so I've been doing that, and I haven't been doing much other writing. So, like, the other writing on my Substack has been paused because it's like I find it difficult to swap kind of like creative mind for these things. So what I've been trying to, and this is one of the more my detective story called 16th and Grant has been more what's the word? Creatively taxing or something. Like it's taken a lot of my attention, which is good. I like that because I want to contribute to the zine and I want to make sure that I write a good story, which is a different mode than the poetry, because poetry is like I really don't think much about I want to write a good thing. It's like I just need to write something. But with the story, I want to write a good thing because I'm hopefully going to convey some narrative and keep the reader engaged for what is at this point 12 pages. So yeah, there's that. Oh, did somebody start already? Did Ethan get up and go? Let's see. Let's look at our. I don't know. I don't know what my internet's going to do here. So let's try it out. Um, share screen. YouTube's share. All right. What I found is this Van Morrison Daring Night 2 playlist is really good for. Oh, wait a minute. It's today. May 12th. Son of a. All right, well, let's see what he's doing over there. He's got to be on already, right? He's on. Let's go.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm a minute late. Just got here.
What's up, people? Let's see where we at here.
We're back.
All right.
Of the wicked.
Yeah.
Nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers.
I like this.
But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation.
No, we're going to listen to, let's see. See, I only went on because I thought Ethan was not on. But Ethan's going strong enough where nobody's watching me right now, which is really good. So let's go to my channel. Let's go to my channel. I want to play some branding. So we're going to go to branding. This is a fun branding.
The final chapter in the history of television talk is about to begin.
Rebrand
to this very special and latest edition of the Psychic Friends Network. Once again,
hosted by our good friend
Dionne Warwick. Today, you'll find out what Dionne Warwick
has to say about the Psychic Friends Network.
I think that anyone watching the show can benefit from speaking to a psychic.
Dionne Warwick from the Psychic Friends Network.
And now a special message from Dionne Warwick.
A lot of these so-called psychic clubs and services have sprung up all over the television screen.
Five-time Grammy Award winner Miss Dionne Warwick.
Hi, welcome to Miss Warwick. Yes.
Yes, I knew it. Go ahead.
You don't have to book a luxury cruise to talk to Just pick up the telephone and call the Psychic Friends Network today.
You'll find out what Dionne Warwick has to say about this.
Something you want to add to this briefing, Captain Heller?
No, sir. Just a little anxious to get up there and whoop E.T.'s ass, that's all.
All right, well, there was that. And then what else? Nope, cancel. Do not play. What else? We're going to go back here. And maybe we got some other stuff. We got that music, poetry. We got that. here's some fun stuff here. Maybe I could play this one because it's so far away. Oh, there's the shorts. Interesting. It actually won't show me. Is Scott there? Are you there, Scott?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning, Scott. Good morning. How are you?
Doing okay. You?
Good. You seem a little serious this morning.
No. Well, I got to put a deposit on the AC.
Oh,
today.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah. After work.
Yeah, dude, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The deposit stuff. Maybe I could play this real quick because I like this, and this is very important to me, but it's something I kind of want to talk about. It maybe has something to do with what Ethan Cawhey's doing over there.
Is he on?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh. I just jumped in the car, went to work, saw you were on. You were the first one that popped up.
Okay, hang on. Share this tab instead. Yes. We'll take this and close that down. This is cool, man. I don't know if you can hear this, but here we go. I love this. She loves Mr. Rogers.
Do you like Mr. Rogers?
What has she got in that second one? Is that a kitty cat?
Teddy bear.
Teddy bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Riley would stop doing whatever he was doing as soon as Mickey Mouse Clubhouse came on. That was his thing. He would just, doesn't matter what he was doing, he would stop when that little jingle came on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember I did like the show, and then when I it was, I don't know, I think it was like 2014 or something when there's like a documentary that came out about Mr. Rogers. Maybe it was called "Would You Be My Neighbor?" I don't remember the name of it, but it was a straight up documentary, and it was outstanding. And I realized that a lot of my worldview had been shaped by Mr. Rogers, and I didn't even know that until I'd seen the documentary, and I thought, "Oh, this is where I get a lot of this stuff from," and it was very moving to me. And then when now that Carolyn is like, so we don't give her like really, that's the only screen time she gets, other than maybe like, what do you call that, FaceTime calls with her aunt or something. But other than that, she gets to watch an episode of Mr. Rogers once a day, and she loves it. And then I noticed this when I was making that clip. I make like these little videos and I put them on unlisted for family members, so I send them. It's a lot easier than trying to send like video files over the phone or something. So I just make unlisted YouTube videos and then send them the link so they can watch, or grandpa and grandma and stuff can just go click and check it out. It's a cool little tool for being able to share videos with family at a long distance, and the public can't access them. So anyhow, the thing about Mr. Rogers that I noticed when making that clip was that every time that he would perform that song, it was brand new. So it wasn't like a pre-recorded button that somebody pressed and then that made a thing. He had this piano player, this like world-class piano player called John Costas, and that, so it blew my mind because it's such a like awesome way to do it, right? It's like nobody would do that today, except maybe some of the night shows were doing some of that, I guess, but not really. And it's different. It's like and every time he would come into his little set, Mr. Rogers' house, he would start singing, and he would be playing with that. He'd be singing with that piano player, and then also the piano player would be playing music during the scene that he would be acting, and these are all one takes basically. And this is crazy. And so they're playing off of each other, delivering this really interesting, playful. That's what Mr. Rogers seems to me to be about, like imagination and ideals and childlike faith, something like that. And it's really interesting. And I just find it fascinating. And I wonder how many people he had actually, like, what kind of impact did he have? What are the downstream effects of a Mr. Rogers, And yeah, so there's that.
Me personally, I didn't watch too much Mr. Rogers. I'm thinking about the benefit of being in modernity, where you can pull these old clips and then reinstill that into your daughter. That wasn't really available when we were coming up. If they weren't on the TV right when you were getting up or moving around. I've seen a few Mr. Rogers, but I don't know if it was, for us, it was, for one, we didn't get the TV. That was usually Dad's. So the kind of only slot we had was Saturday morning. We'd get Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
That was kind of designated for our time. So we didn't have a lot of Mr. Rogers. Plus, too, we only had like 4 or 5 channels back when you had the dials.
Yeah.
And aluminum foil on the rabbit ears.
Right.
So I think it's cool that you get to do that. I'm assuming you get them from YouTube, the Mr. Rogers videos?
No, he's still on PBS, so we have a PBS app that we get him on.
Okay.
And he's like 900 episodes, and so they don't have all the episodes on there. I guess they filter them in and out, and so that's pretty cool. I don't know if I froze or if he froze. Well, there you are.
Sorry.
It's okay. At least it froze.
I heard 900 episodes, but they're not all on there?
No, they filter them in and out. So they bring in, I guess they take old ones off and bring new ones on. So it's always freezing, like on these really nice shots of you, which is pretty cool.
I'm going through a little underpass thing. It's all lit up.
So you got to pay for, you got to put down payment on an air conditioner. That sounds like a big pain in the ass.
I mean, not really. It's kind of, it's just going to zap my savings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get my son into a car. So, I mean, we won't be broke, but it really puts a dent in it. And it was supposed to be a birthday present for him months ago. So, it's a little disheartening. I'm trying to talk myself into believing that it's all planned. There's something good that's going to come out of it. But it stings a little this morning.
Yeah.
And I am grateful that I have the ability to do this. It's been years since we've needed one, so
yeah.
Yeah.
We got one, I think, the last year or the year before. But we got one like right at the end of like they just updated regulations on them, which were like, you know, we weren't really interested in getting the most new technology because it was new, so we didn't really and that's what those new regulations kind of required. So we got in right at the very end, which is, you know, and that's all Anne's thinking. Like, she's really good at planning that stuff ahead. Yeah, we have a couple of unexpected, what do you call that? Unexpected bills pop up. You know, like our stove top. I was trying to put on like because once in a while the little knobs on there will break, and we had some replacement knobs for it, and I was trying to put the knobs on one of them, and the damn thing was just such a pain in the ass. And the knob broke, like not just the knob, but the mechanism broke, and then it just like shorted some shit out in there. Son of a bitch. So the stovetop took a shit, and it's like it's just kind of one of those ones that fits into an opening on the countertop. So
okay, so it's just a flat top.
Yeah, we got to get a new one of those. It's electric too, and so I got to get a new one. We're getting a new one of those. It's about $500, $600, and then but we have an old van that we're gonna we need to get out of the driveway anyways, so kind of it's gonna work out. Somebody's gonna come pick it up, scrapper or whatever. So, you know, and like I've been thinking a lot lately about what happens when here's what's been happening with me lately. Becoming willing to, for lack of better language, to do the next right thing, to becoming willing to actually make expressions of willingness to actually like do the thing I don't want to do, right? Which has been like when I told Ann that I would talk to the doctor, and so I haven't wanted to talk to the doctor forever. I don't like these guys. It's not their fault. It's just I just don't, you know, having been in surgeries and stuff since I was a baby, I just don't like doctor. And on top of that, I have difficulty with institutional authority. So there's just, you know, it's hard for me to just be like, "Hey, let's go do this," you know. But I had this moment, and I became willing, and I said, "Okay, I'll talk to the doctor." And I did, and then that's when they put me on this vitamin D, and from the moment that I became willing, which means just reached out to the guy, there's been a cascade of events that have taken place in life that have been surprisingly generous. Now, I don't know what that means. right? I mean, because you can't. I mean, you could try to game it, but it won't work. But I think if you just honestly and, like, for lack of a better word, humbly make these willing approaches, he seems to provide in ways that are really astonishing and kind of wooey, you know. And
Yeah, man.
I mean, and sometimes that includes the, you know, the. I guess it's a matter of perspective, right? But sometimes that includes the stovetop taking a shit and there being a van that needs to get out of the driveway, and that we've been needing to get out of the driveway, and there we have it. And so, you know, I don't know. But you know,
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for now, and that was kind of what I was pointing to when I said that I'm looking to trust that this is happening for a good reason, you know.
Yeah.
It's not the ideal situation that I would have planned out, but yeah. And I like how you said it's wooey, because through my life, that's how I've seen how he works. It's this unexpected goodness that comes out of these situations that, you know, are sweet. That's the best way I can describe it. It's not Turkish delight sweet or, you know, Snickers bar sweet, but it's more like, I don't know, a Red Delicious apple sweet. You know, it's just easy, and I'll throw you into this and say, if we just are open to accepting that, and then I would say also be satisfied by it, because I think that's where I've struggled a little bit more, is being satisfied with that and saying that's enough. The world we live in pushes us for these, you know, incredibly shocking moments, like a win at a slot machine or something. You know what I mean? That's like so powerful in its impact into changing your you know, your feelings, that it's like a sugar rush from a Snickers bar as opposed to something that's more sustaining in these sweet moments that I think you're talking to.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I've been noticing is surrendering the seat of the author, the author, or the authority. And so some of that is kind of like trying to adopt a more sincere position. So, you know, it's like I was talking to somebody about we're looking, you know, we're on a journey right now to find where we belong as far as the church goes. And and right now we're actually at this same church that Ethan Cahy is attending, and
oh, nice.
It's really nice. I like it a lot. And there's a couple of like remarkable things that have happened there. But I was talking with somebody about kind of my desire to potentially explore Catholicism, and they were like, you know, they don't let you like take communion and stuff, right? And I'm like, yes, I know this. And what I found in talking about that was like, first of all, I think that that's remarkable that any institution has been able to maintain something like, we don't let you take communion unless there's this, and this, or whatever, right? For, you know, a couple thousand years or 1,000 years, whatever the hell it is, right? And that's a very interesting thing to think about as it relates to like authenticity versus sincerity. And what it tells me is like the last thing I need to be is like an authority in my life. I mean, it's really, do I really need more of that? And so I think that's kind of the underlying kind of foundation of what we're talking about this morning, Scott, about like the willingness to move in the right direction, even though it's a bit uncertain, scary, all of the above. But when I do take when I make the approach, the first step in that direction, the world seems to unfold in a way that is kind of oddly satisfying. And so, yeah, I mean, and one of the things was leaving the church that we were at. Making that decision was a difficult one to make, but it was the right one. And Ethan was actually when Anne had her back surgery a couple months ago. The only person to really show up, one person did come from the church that we were at, but it wasn't until at the tail end of the thing. But the first person and only other person that showed up was Ethan. He came to our house and bought us some dinner, and he dropped it off, and like that was incredible. I mean, he drove 40 minutes out of the way to come to our home and bring us food, and I'm sure that wasn't like easy. He might say, well, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it's not easy to do that. He spent money, he spent gas, he spent time, and he secured confidence in us. So that was good. And then so I told Ann when we were looking for the church, like we should just go and check out this church. And we went there, and the father there, the priest, was like, "Oh, I know you. I've seen you before." And I said, "Yeah, we met in Chicago in my estuary group." He was at Midwestuary, and even Ethan didn't know that. And so that was like a weird moment, right? I was like, "Whoa, this is cool." And then we were sitting there yesterday, and I love it because, or not yesterday, Sunday. It's Tuesday. Anyway, we're sitting there, and there's like screaming, crying kids everywhere. And I love it, dude, because that's one of the big reasons why we're kind of trying to find a new place to be, to call our church home, because we need to be able to connect with an actual diverse community, one that has families. And there are like 30 kids there that are like 3 years and younger, at least 30. And that is wild. And it's wild to see like the young people kind of outnumber the old people, which is also wild. And it's a church that has liturgy, and so we like that. We like all of that stuff. Is it Catholic? No, but it's Anglo-Catholic. So,
I mean, their liturgy says they're the Catholic Church.
Yes. So, I mean, I have been to Catholic services. That I mean, and even the church that we were at had basically like Catholic like liturgy, like an older sacramental liturgy. And we like that a lot. So yeah, that's all good.
So why move? It seems to me like the individual playing the chess game in which you are a pawn has moved you here, and it's good.
Why move churches?
why move again? Because you were talking about doing Catholicism.
Oh, I don't know.
And
we might not.
Okay.
Well, it might be a principle of two principles at work. One of the ones is before we started, we said that we wouldn't just join a new church because we wanted to. One of the things that happened when we joined the church before is we really liked it, and then we just joined it. We didn't put a lot of extra thought. And actually, when we first joined, we wanted to have a family, but we didn't have a family at the time. And it wasn't until Carolyn came into our life where we're like, this isn't really kind of like, I don't think enough for a young family with a young daughter. There wasn't really any other, maybe 3 or 4 other babies there, but that's about it. And
that was the Lutheran.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, and it felt like the only way to actually really be kind of really noticed in that church is if you're actually like doing some sort of service commitment, which is funny because they talk about like we're not a works righteousness, but that's basically, it seemed to me that's basically all it was, right? Like,
right.
And so if you want to feel a part of, you have to be a part of the faculty, and that just seemed to be not really what we wanted. So when we set out to look for a new church, we said we're not going to join a new church for at least a year. We'll find a place, and I want to do kind of what that is kind of what the Catholics do. That is kind of what the Orthodox do. They won't even take you if you ask them to, right? They want you to kind of stick around, see what And so we wanted to try to practice that. And then the other principle was we said that we were going to look at other places. So I think we want to adhere to the agreement, which is we will look at other places. I'm pretty sure we found the place, but we still want to walk through what we said we were going to do. That's the principle of willingness, right? We're willing to do what we said we were going to do.
So, first thought that comes to my mind is sometimes I find that you made the first step, right, to walk out. And sometimes God shocks us, and we just make that first step, and we think it's going somewhere. And then this gets back to the willingness, like to hear. I mean, I'm assuming you guys are praying about it too as you walk. And so I find that oftentimes I will make that first step, and in making the first step, because I put forth plans all the time, and I think sometimes he wants me to be less in the planning stage and more in the trusting stage and just taking the next right step. So sometimes I have these plans that I'm going to do something, and then I get down there and I take the first step, and then he's like, nope, take another step this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's, I think you're talking about submission overall, right? That was something postulated in one of our conversations a few weeks ago, where we're choosing to submit to something outside of ourselves that loves us, that cares about us. And it also reminds me a little bit about the oracle. Sometimes God just tells us what we need to hear to take that first step, and then, like, the stove breaks. You know what I mean? And then the thing you know, you're on this other little side quest. So, yeah. I was kind of shocked to hear you had moved. Last time we spoke, I believe you were like, just go to a church. And with you being Missouri Synod, and with my father-in-law being raised Lutheran, I ended up looking up the closest one to me, and come to find out that's where my son did Vacation Bible School one year. So that's why it's like number 3 on my list.
Yep.
Of where to go.
We're a North American Lutheran, which is like, it's weird because it's like the middle ground between ELCA and Missouri Synod or Wisconsin Synod, whatever. And that was the other part. Like, that was kind of nagging at me, was this kind of like this idea of being a Protestant. I'm just so sick of it, dude. Like, I don't want to be a Protestant. Part of that, and I don't know if the Anglican would consider themselves Protestant or not. I know that there's a history there, but yeah, I'm not really interested in protesting. I'm just not, dude. And I want to be part of something that is part of, not part of something that is separate from. And that's just kind of, again, it goes back to, do I really need to be do I really need to like assume more of this authority position in my life? I mean, jeepers. I'm so sick of it, dude. I just want to be a part of. I don't want to be always going against something all the damn time. And that's a big part of this for me.
I mean, the thought that's coming to my mind is, what are you submitting to, though? What are you ceding the authority to? Are you ceding the authority to the church, or are you ceding your authority to what it's supposed to be pointing to? That's my big kind of pushback about, because look, the high church and the liturgy, all the stuff that I've been able to learn here with the liturgy, especially going through the Easter season. Olson did the 7th Sunday of Easter yesterday, and just the liturgy and the season, and it's been beautiful, and I'm glad it's here. But I just get real angsty about things that men run and the pride of calling it the one true.
Uh-huh.
It really just, it doesn't leave room for the fact that we are fallible and we make mistakes. And in an age of ossified institutions, which we're all talking about, I mean, and I'm not against like going in there and helping to breathe life back into those dry bones. But the very first thought I had when you said you're sick of being a Protestant is, can we stop being Protestant? Mr. Rogers is in our formation. It's made us who we are. Protestantism has made us who we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of see something emerging out of all the different gateways. I watched an interesting YouTube thing about the 12 tribes of Israel, and how I believe it's Revelations, how they talk about the 12 gates into the holy city. And they talked about the different characteristics of the different sons of Israel, and how they're microcosms of how personality and characteristics can be both used for good or bad, right? For instance, like Dan not being mentioned, the tribe of Dan not being mentioned in the last. And I've come to think that all these, and I've thought this for a while in terms of the different churches, and maybe you've heard me say this to Claire, is that Christianity is the religion that's not a religion. And this is why we have all these different, it's not that they're wrong. I also don't think, my dad told me this, I said this a few weeks ago if you hadn't heard, that when the veil was torn from top to bottom at Christ's crucifixion and death, that my dad told me that that was God saying that not one institution will have the full truth from here on out. And if it's a gathering together of God's people, he's going to bring them from all over. And one of the things that has struck me about this space, to do a little navel gazing again, is there seems to be something new coming out of it. There's people from different traditions and different walks and, God willing, different parts of the world where there seems to be something new coming from this. Maybe that's my Protestantism, but I don't know. It seems a little bit like going backwards. And maybe you got to go backwards to make the big leap, you know. But
yeah, I'm with you. I don't think you're getting rid of, the Protestantism isn't ever going to completely leave the water. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying one thing would be good, from my understanding, would be something like to assume more of the sincere position rather than the position of the authority. So,
can you do that through your prayers, though?
Yeah, I think that just like doing prayer and things like that. But yeah, I think the idea of like going and finding the the right church and all that stuff, and the all that kind of stuff is it's definitely a Protestant move. We live in a I'm trying to think of the right word here. We live in an environment, an arena that affords us all sorts of different options. a consumerist arena, and we're really blessed to be able to have that. So it's like, okay, trying to find the place that will allow me to actually kind of submit to something that is not my idea. This is I like the idea that that Mark Parker, this idea that, do I really need to go find another church where I can come in and like start making my suggestions about how we need to do things? Like, do I really need that? Or can I just join a church that maybe already has all this hierarchy, and then I can just kind of like worship inside that hierarchy? And I think like that, to me, is an attractive idea, although it's a Protestant move to be able to make the decision, and I think so I don't think there's any getting away with it. I'm not saying that at all, but okay. And here's the thing, like the Lutheran churches that I was looking at, the ELCA, and then you had the Wisconsin Synod. I think it's Wisconsin. The ELCA probably had a ton of people in it, and like and they're kind of like very kind of, they have all sorts of liberal values that they're very open, and then you have like the NALC, which is like kind of like in the middle, and the only people that they seem to have in there are like boomers and Gen Xers. Like there's just teaming with those folks. And then you have the Wisconsin senators, and those guys seem to be very vibrant too, and they have really kind of like a really alive school system and all this different kind of stuff. But they're also like really, we don't worship with other people. We only pray with our kind. There's no women and none of that stuff. No, and so they're kind of like have kind of like this. They're, to me, when I look at it, it's like, oh, they're against something, just as the ELCA are against something, and I don't want to be in either one of those parties. I just don't. To me, it's not. As soon as I noticed it, I can't be a part of it. You know what I mean? It's like as soon as you notice the water you're in, it's like, oh, I'm in the water. I gotta. So that's a very authoritative move there, and I want to just kind of like, I know I'm not going to ever get away from it entirely, right? I know that these kinds of dynamics happen in institutions, but when we went to this other place, yeah, I was like, wow, this is because I know that they kind of have these older values, more conservative-ish values, and yet they're like, I look around the room and I'm like, wow, there's Gen Zers, there's a ton of millennials, there's some Xers and some boomers, and they're following a liturgy, and there's like 30 or 40 kids here. This is crazy. And I don't think, it doesn't feel like they're trying to revive anything. They're just alive, and they're trying, and like talking to them, they said, yeah, this is weird because this has happened only over the last couple of years. We started getting a real surge in new families. I'm like,
yeah, that all sounds wonderful.
Yeah, dude.
And what you'd want.
Yeah. I also know that there are downstream things to work out at that church. I guarantee it. I guarantee that church will have to work some stuff out, because they're also, even though they're rooted in an older tradition, they're also very young congregations. So they're gonna be difficulties. It's inevitable.
Yeah. Well, look, just so you know, I'm asking more for myself to learn from what you're learning, not to be critical. But I do have to go, and I think that's a good note to leave on, because it does sound beautiful what you've been able to experience. I also love the fact that Ethan's there. It's like, it's this point where this world is meeting the real world in a very substantive way. So it just all around seems very beautiful. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
you have a good morning.
Have a great day.
I will do my best. Thanks.
Later. All right, let's see what that Ethan he's doing, and see how it measures up against the Heathen Coughing Morning Show. Let's see. YouTube. Enter. We'll go see what these guys are up to. Oh.
So Peterson claims that we've been doing the human thing for 3.5 billion years. Is that what he said?
Whatever.
Well, not the human thing. The life thing for 3.5 billion years.
Yeah, the lobster.
And then he says, we've been telling these stories for 3.
At least.
I just want to ask the question, okay? Because this is the exploring show, which means I haven't written anything down, right? If I write something down in my Substack, that's something that I want to like defend. On the exploring show, I'm just exploring. So I'll defend things to a little bit. So I want to just propose that what if the Bible's older than 3,000 years? What if parts of the Bible, where the stories come, it has some like, at what point in history do the biblical stories like